So if you've been following all week on Nationwide or following the national conversation, we
Led by
had
Nationwide.
led
On
by
this issue,
Nationwide,
yes.
yes, particularly when we had William Mafood here,
Yesterday.
and we've literally been going, back and forth looking at it, and I have here a clip from the chairman of Wysinca Group, William Mafood. He's proposing that the government imports Haitian workers to fill the gaps in Jamaica's labor force. Mr. Mafood has joined several business leaders who are lamenting the high turnover rate of employees.
At a very, very high level, CARICOM and the integration was supposed to allow complete freedom of movement of people. And I asked the question just before the Prime Minister had to leave for their meeting about why don't we open up to Haiti? Because right there you have a terribly distressed workforce. Many of them would jump at the opportunity to come to Jamaica, and especially for skilled workers. If we could put in a process where we say, okay, let's open up to some of the skilled workers, I think the solution is at a regional level.
That's William Mafood. Of course, he's the chairman of the Wysinca Group. He says businesses are experiencing a high turnover of both skilled and low skilled workers. He notes that while the younger generation is reluctant to work their way up from the bottom, companies are losing skilled labor to migration. Mr. Mafood says the importation of labor may be the solution to the growing problem, but some details need to be ironed out first.
It's to work out the mechanics of it, right? It's not like you couldn't say tomorrow morning, let's completely open up our borders to Haiti, because you'd have a mass influx and we would probably not be able to. Social, the all of the regulatory issues, the health services, education, etc., would not be able to handle the volume of people. But if you did it in a way that allowed for controlled migration, I think it would help us a lot. It would help Haiti as well.
So to continue this conversation, George, we're going to have some perspectives within CARICOM, which, for one, we're going to have President of the BITU, Senator Cavan Gale.
President General. Give him title, man.
President General of the BITU, Senator Cavan Gale. And we're still trying to connect the employment and labor market specialist at the ILO, Decent Work Team and Office for the Caribbean, Abdel Malik Mohammed. But I think we'll go ahead with Senator Gale until we get that connection. Good morning, Senator Gale.
Morning, gentlemen.
All right, good having you on.
I am not a Chelsea fan, but I believe in the Trilo.
You would in a Senator.
Yeah,
you would.
I'm not even shocked that
Self-interest,
All right, so we want to understand the BITU's perspective firstly on this potential as posited by Mr. Mafood about labor mobility within the CARICOM region, noting that the CSME already exists and some provisions exist, but as it relates to solving labor shortages in Jamaica.
Well, let me start, and let me say good morning again to your listeners. Well, let me start by, the extent of the problem. Jamaica's unemployment rate, as you know, has gone to this historic low. And that's a sign of economic progress, but it also highlights a shrinking pool of available talent. And so fewer unemployed Jamaicans are actively seeking work. And what we have found now is that businesses must compete more aggressively for skilled labor. Now, Jamaica is not just competing with local firms. We're part of a global labor market. So we're not a domestic labor market anymore. And so many skilled Jamaicans are being recruited overseas in particular industries. But if we don't create that kind of attractive opportunity, we risk losing more talent to countries offering better wages and benefits and even career growth. Now, the suggestion to recruit from CARICOM, bear in mind that if you are recruiting and how migrant labor operates, if you are migrating from a country of origin, it simply means that you are looking better to the country in the country of destination.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be paying competitive wages in a global market space in order to attract this composite talent and skills that we are desirous of. Now, and I've said this before, before we start to recruit externally,
Mm-hmm.
Jamaican workers must be prioritized where it's possible. And I've said this, I've asked for this, that a proper skills gap analysis be conducted to determine the true need for foreign labor. Where do we need it? We cannot solve this problem without the data. And so Jamaica, I believe, needs a kind of modern labor market information system that, gentlemen, it tracks the emerging skills demand. It also looks at the sector-specific shortage. Where is the shortage? What are the skills that are in demand? And it must also track the kind of migration trends.
Mm-hmm.
Who is leaving? And where are they leaving to? So I want to start with that kind of perspective. But, you know, William Mahfoud also mentioned that we can't just open up our borders, because what it would mean is that there are certain protocols and policy frameworks that we have to look at. We're going to have to look at even our immigration laws. There has to be a bilateral agreement between Jamaica and Haiti that is worker selection, around worker selection criteria. There's a possibility when you start opening this up around human trafficking. And how do you treat the question of screening and vetting? You know, the background checks, criminal record screening for these workers, and our own border patrols. We also, gentlemen, have to look at the question of our own work permit regime, because once you open this up, it means that there's going to be a need, there may be a flood, the question of the alacrity, who is it that we're choosing, what sectors are we looking at? These are some of the things that come to my mind, but before we go there, we need to look at what are the wages that they are paying. Why workers move, why workers shun away, why you can't retain or attract the composite skills. What is the extent of trick?
We've added Vincent Morrison from the UAWU to the conversation.
All right, great. So we have both Vincent and Senator Cavan Gale. Going along that line, I'm going to throw over that question to you, Vincent, as it relates to your perspective on the potential for labor mobility within CARICOM, particularly to solve some of the labor shortage issues we're hearing from businesses across Jamaica.
Okay, firstly, Vincent Morris is not from UAW. I'm from UK.
Beg your pardon, sir. UK's. Yes.
I've been served 45 years.
At NWU, yes.
Yeah. So the question, labor shortage. I don't know if anybody on the program has seen any scientific study, any real study to show the gap in labor shortage across Jamaica. When you go into certain communities, especially into the rural areas, people are begging for employment. In fact, almost every other youngster who haven't left school, they want a farm work ticket. They want to go on the farm work program. Yes, we have been going on the program since 1945, resulting from the shortage of labor in the United States because of the war, etc. Good program, excellent program. We earn foreign exchange, etc. It's a lot of foreign exchange. But I don't know. When I go into the school across Jamaica, there's a lot of youngsters, and not many of them are going to end up as doctors, lawyers, or journalists for that matter. So I don't know if there should be a rush to recruit labor. Yes, where we have certain skills, and we can get them from the Caribbean, fine, I don't have a problem. But it can be a carte blanche approach. as been proposed by the private sector.
Stick a pin, Vincent, because just for the completeness of information, William Mahfood, he was very careful with his words, and Senator Gale acknowledged that he said it's not a free-for-all open borders because that can't work. They were talking about specific areas where skilled labor is in shortage, and I'm happy you said what you said because this is the issue that has caused Jamaicans to not be confused but to be unclear. When you talk to the business leaders, Vincent Morrison, as we do right here, the picture they paint based on their experiences is a shortage of skilled laborers at various tiers in their organization. William Mahfood spent about half an hour with us on Wednesday morning outlining that, and his account is real because he's a businessman. His hand is in the crucible, so he knows. But then when someone like yourself with vast experience in the trade unions movement, you are very close to the workers, you walk in lockstep with them. When someone hears you now say, well, I don't see evidence of this gap that the business leaders are talking about, people are left to wonder, well, where are the facts? What is the difference between what Vincent Morrison sees from his perch and what William Mahfood from his experience sees? And that's the gap that some people can't bridge, Vincent Morrison.
I've sent nearly 5 workers to the Mahfood company, the Cinco, over the past month. And, I think one was employed over the 5. And there was some little nonsensical reason why the others weren't employed. Let me say this. We've been having a shortage of labor, not necessarily because we don't have the manpower itself, we don't have the person or the personalities to fit in these jobs, but because we've been treating workers badly. This fixed-term contract that we've been put in. Not many workers are going to want to go into a place not knowing that after the first year, you're going to have a job or not. And that is why you find quite a lot of workers across the country, especially in the middle educational gaps going up, trying to start their own business. Because we are not treating our workers properly. I mean, if you look at the security guard industry, it's a disgrace. It's slavery. And have no apology to say that.
Yeah. Cavan Gale, William Mahfood also pointed to something that customers of fast food restaurants can attest to. It's not even flux, because flux suggests a steady pace of change. Constant, yes, but steady. But the rapid replacement of workers, because people walk off the job, people move on to other things, and in the quick service they want to call it these days. So the restaurants that like everybody can name off the top of their heads, the workers there don't stay there very long. You spend money training them, you invest in their ability to perform their duties, and they are gone in quick time. You have to train again, and that affects customer service. That's what he says. Is that your understanding of the state of play in the fast food business?
They may migrate from fast food to fast food because you find the terms of conditions of employment is depressingly low. You have these precarious nature of contracts. Some of them is 6 months, some of them up to a year. Some don't get any contracts. But the conditions of employment is not one, and the wages is not one that is going to retain them. And how they are treated at the workplace. They just leave and move on to better. And it becomes a kind of revolving door. And so that sometimes is demonstrated in the kind of service the customer gets. And what you pay for is what is going to be the output in a lot of instances and cases.
Is there this gap, though, Senator Gale, between what the business leaders say are real gaps in their organizational structure in terms of workers, especially those who they've trained and invested in and are now skilled, moving out, and they constantly have to be trying to fill these gaps, sufficient for some of them to seek to be lobbying the Prime Minister to allow them to bring in people to plug those gaps? Is that a real thing that they're saying?
So George, you bring in workers who have the certification and the qualification. You may invest in workers and develop them. But if you are not paying them competitive wages, they're going to look elsewhere. Workers are always going to be looking for better. And if you don't have the sense of career progression within an organization, and where workers don't feel stagnated, they are going to move on to better. Remember, again, no.
Hold on. I think your line is going in and out, Senator Gale. Can we reconnect, Senator Gale, please?
Can I just say something quickly
Yes,
here?
yes, Vincent. Go ahead.
The cost of bringing workers, the whole issue of housing, you take the hotel workers, when the workers travel from Linstead to Ocherest, they leave work at 10 o'clock at night and don't have no transportation to take them back to York and Linstead. These are some of the issues that we have to look on, and I don't think we have been looking on the issues and trying to see how we can deal with it.
Well, to be fair, the housing thing you speak of is real, Vincent Morrison. But that's why you've heard this tourism minister speak of the several thousand houses that are being built. Some have been built for hotel workers because they recognize that this is a severe constraint on workers' ability to perform their job well and to give them an incentive to stay in the role.
I hear the minister, but I believe it's just a stopgap situation. There's no real planning. To twin these social benefits to the development of the industry. It can be one or the other. If you're really serious about going forward, maintaining your labor force. So for example, I'll give you a real example. There are some workers who leave a particular hotel, went to work on the U.S. program. Now, when they do that, when they come back to Jamaica to work, they have much better workers. But the employers took umbrage to that. In fact, I was serving on the Farmer Overseas Program Management. And we could even have a meeting at that hotel. They didn't want us because they claimed we were recruiting workers for overseas. And it's what we need is a master plan. We need a master plan.
Well,
how we're going to tackle this problem.
Well, as we look on this, I wanted to clear up some things. There was actually a study done in 2024 by Capri, and they would have looked at brain gain, solving the labor shortage and competing for global talent. What they would have said...
Capri didn't speak to us, Yeah, I know that study very well.
Yes.
But the unfortunate thing that they didn't speak to the labor movement.
Well, the numbers that they have, though, is that there would have been a growth, or there's a general labor shortage and a shortage of specific skills driven by employment growth of about 14% between 2015 and 2023. So that is one study we can say that exists, that even though you say they haven't spoken to you in particular, the study is saying that it's 7 times the growth that was seen between 2006 and 2014. So when we hear the businesses crying out, and I think I spoke on it yesterday as well, George, because my mechanic said a very, very similar thing. He said to me that I can't expand right now because I can't find 2 people. I need 2 more people in order to expand my business. And that's something that, I've been hearing in different places across the island. And then they're just...
The demand is there.
The demand is there.
But you can't find the skilled labor.
The skilled labor,
Yeah.
that is the issue.
I'll give you another example,
And I'm glad to talk about the skilled labor, I'm very happy to talk about the skills, because we shouldn't be talking about skills. Heart and TA, they have enough money. But you have to put back the skill training centers into the communities.
Yeah.
Where it started.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, you're going to be talking about the youngster must be able to jump on a bicycle from the yard to the skill center, have lunch, and go back to work.
Yeah. Hold it there.
The centralized thing in Stony Hill and in...
You say that's not working.
It's not working.
Let me hear Cavan Gale
community.
in the short time we have left. Hear you on that, Vincent. Hold that point. Cavan, you were saying?
Yeah, I'm saying that, the skilled labor is where the shortage is, and there is a demand more. I'll give you an example. I was going to a meeting, and the elevators in a building not working. And then you say, with all these high-rise buildings going up, how many of them are going to be maintaining elevators? Where are the skills coming from? And we need the skills
Where is
in
the training?
specific areas
Yeah.
in the construction sector.
Yes, and you don't expect people from Otis, the manufacturer of many of these elevators, to send people from the US to come and fix them. Let me squeeze in this thing, gentlemen. It's borrowed time I'm on, but I have to ask. Cavan Gale first and then Vincent Morrison last. The issue of people saying a lot of these business leaders are wanting to import labor because they want to pay for cheap labor. In the same way that several companies in this country have exploited the hard trainee process and the intern process, where you have people doing the work like seasoned professionals, but because they are not full-time, because they are trainees, you pay them a stipend. Well, not pay, you give them a stipend, or you give them minimum pay, yeah, and you expect them to do the work. And many companies are built on that, and it is something similar that some of our business leaders want to happen when they talk about importing labor. Let me hear you on that, Cavan Gale, then Vincent Morrison.
Well, the first thing, entity that I represent, if I can identify some interns, but the interns has to be university graduates to work in a specific role that a normal worker would work, but they want an intern, and they are using these quick things as trainees and interns, much to their advantage.
So you're saying it's being abused? You'd agree that it's being abused?
It is being abused. It has become a standard.
Vincent?
When you had the bauxite industry, and of course the sugar industry, you didn't have problems of these like this sort, you know. Nobody didn't want to leave the bauxite and aluminum industry because the terms and conditions were excellent.
But weren't there? But wasn't a real case though, Vincent, that there was nowhere else to go?
No. In fact, as when the bauxite started, you know, that is when we started industrialization. The manufacturing sector was there. Sugar was employing.
Yeah.
But Vincent, let me hear you on the abuse of the intern trainee thing. I want to hear you on that.
Yeah, I agree with Cavan. The point is really that even at the end of these internships, you don't have no guarantee that you're going to seek employment, and what is going to happen? The youngster is going to move on.
And they clear them out and make way for a fresh group of interns to do the cycle all over again.
Yeah,
it becomes
but the internship, that should be a permanent arrangement. And I've seen some arrangements, for example, in the UK, in Canada, where government, the private sector join together to ensure that there's training, because that's where it begins. You know?
Yeah.
Recruitment and training.
Yeah, have to leave it here, gentlemen. We've gone way over time to give you more time to express the opinions. Thank you this morning, Senator Gale, President General of the BITU, and UCASE's boss, Vincent Morrison, former stalwart of the National Workers Union. Thank you, gentlemen.
God bless you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.